If you earn $50,000 a year and feel like you have nothing to show for it, you are not imagining things. The average American worker loses over 30% of their paycheck to systems most people never think about. Today we go through the actual numbers, where your money goes, and exactly who is collecting it. I'm Mr. Blobski. My tie is the same one I had last year because I ran the numbers. Let's begin. Let's start with the most fundamental number in your financial life, your salary. The median individual income in America right now is $58,000 per year. That is the official number. That is what you tell people when they ask how much you make. That is what you think you earn. Here is what you actually take home. Federal income tax at the median bracket, roughly 12% effective rate. That is $6,960 gone immediately. Social Security tax, 6.2%, another $3,596. Medicare, 1.45%, $841. State income tax varies. The national average is about 5%, $2,900. Total deductions before you touch a single dollar, approximately $14,300. Your $58,000 salary becomes $43,700 in actual take-home pay. You lost 24% of your income before you bought a single thing, before you paid rent, before you bought groceries, before you made one financial decision of your own. Now, taxes are not a conspiracy. Roads exist. Hospitals exist. The argument here is not that taxes are evil. The argument is that most people budget against their gross salary, the $58,000, instead of their actual take-home. That gap of $14,000 is the first place most financial plans go wrong. You are trying to live on $58,000 while actually working with $43,000. The math never works because you are solving the wrong equation. In 1985, the median American household spent 22% of their gross income on housing. Today, that number is 34%. And in the 30 largest cities in America, it is over 40%. Let me put that in real terms. If you take home $43,700 per year, the number we just established, 34% of that is $14,858 per year, going to your landlord or your mortgage lender. That is $1,238 per month. If you rent in any major American metro, Atlanta, Denver, Phoenix, Seattle, Miami, Chicago, virtually anywhere, $1,238 does not get you a one-bedroom. In many of these cities, it does not get you a studio. The standard financial guideline is to spend no more than 30% of gross income on housing. The average American is already above that, and in urban areas they are dramatically above it. This is not a personal failure. This is a structural shift that happened over 40 years as housing supply failed to keep pace with demand, as zoning laws made building harder, and as institutional investors entered the single-family home market at scale. The average American household is not spending too much on housing because they lack discipline. They are spending too much because the market was engineered that way. The average American household carries $9,034 in credit card debt. This number has been above $8,000 for over a decade. It does not go down because the product is designed to prevent it from going down. Here is the mechanic. The average credit card APR right now is 22.8%. On $9,000, that is $2,052 in interest per year, $5.62 per day, every day, including weekends, holidays, and the days you are not thinking about it at all. But here is the detail most people miss. If you pay only the minimum payment on $9,000 at 22.8%, you will make payments for over 30 years and pay approximately $19,000 total. The bank doubles its money on things you already consumed. The credit card industry collected $230 billion in interest and fees in 2023. That is the mathematical output of a system that profits specifically from people paying the minimum and believing they are managing their debt responsibly by not missing a payment. Mr. Blobski pays his credit card balance in full every month and considers this the single most boring financial decision that has the single largest financial impact. The tie confirms this. Here is the retirement stat that the average American does not know, and when they hear it, they wish they still did not know. The median retirement savings for Americans aged 55 to 64, the people 10 years away from retirement, is $185,000. $185,000 sounds like a real number. It sounds like someone tried. Let's do what almost nobody does and run it against what retirement actually costs. The 4% rule, the most widely cited retirement withdrawal framework, developed from the Trinity study of historical market returns, says you can withdraw 4% of your portfolio annually with a high probability of not running out of money over 30 years. 4% of $185,000 is $7,400 per year, $616 per month. The average Social Security benefit is $1,907 per month as of 2025. Combined with that $616 monthly portfolio withdrawal, you have $2,523 per month in retirement income. The average monthly cost of living for a retired individual in America, $3,200. This is not a lavish retirement. This is a modest one-bedroom, basic health care, a car, food, and utilities. The gap, $677 per month, every month, for the rest of your life. And this is the median. Half of Americans approaching retirement have less than $185,000 saved. 28% of Americans over 55 have zero retirement savings. Not a small amount, zero. The traditional explanation is that Americans do not save enough. That is true, but incomplete. The employer pension, which provided a defined monthly benefit regardless of market performance, has been almost entirely replaced by the 401k, which shifts all investment risk to the employee and requires active decisions most people are not trained to make. People living paycheck to paycheck cannot contribute to a retirement account. The system was redesigned in a way that made retirement savings contingent on already being financially comfortable. Americans spent $113 billion on lottery tickets in 2023. $113 billion. That is more than Americans spent on books, video games, movies, and music combined. The average American household spends $630 per year on lottery tickets. In lower-income households, households earning under $30,000 annually, that average rises to over $1,000 per year. Here is the math the Lottery Commission does not advertise. For every dollar spent on lottery tickets, the expected return is approximately 50 cents. This is public information. It is embedded in the payout structure. Half of all lottery revenue goes back to prizes. The other half goes to state government and operating costs. The lottery is a financial product with a guaranteed negative 50% return. No investment advisor in America could legally sell you a product with a negative 50% expected return. But the state can, and does, and markets it specifically to people who are already financially struggling, using jackpot advertising that emphasizes the 1 in 300 million outcome while never mentioning the 50-cent return on every dollar. If the average lottery-playing household redirected that $630 per year into a low-cost index fund over 30 years at a 10% historical average, they would have $113,000. Not a jackpot, but also not nothing, and infinitely better than a 50% guaranteed loss. The lottery is marketed as a dream. It functions as a regressive tax on financial desperation. Here is a number almost nobody tracks because it never shows up as one line item. It is scattered across 12 different monthly statements in amounts too small to notice. The average American pays approximately $2,150 per year in bank fees, financial services fees, and account maintenance charges. Let's break that down. ATM fees. The average American pays about $260 per year in ATM fees, mostly out-of-network fees of $3 to $5 per transaction. Account maintenance fees. The average checking account that charges a monthly fee costs about $144 per year. Overdraft fees. The average household that pays overdraft fees pays about $250 per year. Americans collectively paid $7.7 billion in overdraft fees in 2022. But the largest invisible fee is inside your retirement account. The average actively managed mutual fund charges an expense ratio of around 1% annually. On a $100,000 portfolio, that is $1,000 per year. On a $500,000 portfolio, that is $5,000 per year. Every year, regardless of performance. Compare that to a Vanguard index fund like VOO. Expense ratio of 0.03%. On $100,000, $30 per year versus $1,000 per year. The difference? $970 annually, invested at 7% over 30 years, compounds to nearly $100,000. You paid $100,000 extra to have someone manage your money in a way that, statistically, underperforms the index 70 to 80% of the time over 10-year periods. That is the data. That is not an opinion. The financial industry is a business that sells products. Many of them are priced in a way that extracts significant wealth from customers who are not reading the fee disclosure on page 47 of the prospectus. The personal savings rate in America, the percentage of after-tax income that households save, is 4.6%. For context, Germany, 20%, Japan, 17%, China, 35%, Canada, 8%, America, 4.6%. That means for every $1,000 of after-tax income, the average American saves $46. The remaining $954 is spent, some of it on necessities, some of it on things that felt necessary at the time. Here is what 4.6% actually produces over a lifetime of work. If you earn the median take-home of $43,700 per year and save 4.6%, $2,010 annually, starting at age 25 and retiring at 65, at a 7% average annual return, you will have $427,000. $427,000 sounds like a lot until you divide it by a 25-year retirement. That is $17,080 per year, $1,423 per month from your portfolio, plus Social Security, which gets you approximately $3,300 per month total, which, as we established earlier, is still below the average monthly cost of a modest retirement. Now watch what happens if you save 15% instead of 4.6%. Same income, same return, same 40-year working life. Portfolio at retirement, $1,380,000. Monthly withdrawal at 4%, $4,600. Plus Social Security, $6,500 per month. You are now comfortable, not rich, comfortable. The difference between a stressful retirement and a comfortable one at median income is the gap between saving 4.6% and saving 15%. That is approximately $450 per month more in savings. The same amount most people spend on a car payment they did not need. This one is specific to the United States in a way that is genuinely hard to explain to people in other countries. Medical debt is the leading cause of personal bankruptcy in America. Not reckless spending, not gambling, not bad investments. Getting sick. The average medical debt balance among Americans who carry it is $2,400. But that average is distorted by the many people who carry much more. Approximately 1 in 10 American adults, roughly 25 million people, carries medical debt over $10,000. For a significant percentage of those people, the debt came from a single hospitalization. The average cost of a 3-day hospital stay in America with no complications, $30,000. In Germany, $4,000. In Japan, $3,000. In Canada, zero out of pocket for most procedures. This is not a political statement. It is an arithmetic statement. In America, a medical emergency is also a financial emergency. An appendectomy that costs $3,000 in France costs $35,000 in the United States. The medical event is identical. The financial consequence is not. The result is that millions of Americans make healthcare decisions based on cost rather than need, skipping appointments, not filling prescriptions, because the deductible has not been met. This is the one stat on this list that an individual cannot fully solve with better financial habits alone. Net worth is the most honest single number in personal finance. It is what you own minus what you owe. It does not care about your income. It does not care about your lifestyle. It is just the math. Here is the median net worth by age group in America, according to the Federal Reserve's most recent survey of consumer finances. Under 35, $13,900. 35 to 44, $91,300. 45 to 54, $168,600. 55 to 64, $212,500. 65 to 74, $266,400. Now here is the contrast that makes these numbers land differently. The mean net worth for Americans 65 to 74 is $1,794,000, nearly 7 times the median. That gap is the wealth of a small number of households at the top, pulling the average up dramatically while the middle barely moves. The median describes your neighbor. The mean describes your neighbor's block plus 2 people who own most of it. What moves median net worth? Not income jumps, not lucky investments. The data consistently shows the same 2 drivers: home ownership, which is the primary wealth-building vehicle for middle-income Americans, and consistent retirement account contributions starting before 35. People who own their home and have been contributing to a 401k since their mid-20s have median net worth 3 to 4 times higher than people who rent and never contributed at identical income levels. The asset accumulation gap is not primarily about earning more. It is about what you own versus what you rent. Here is the stat that is not in any government survey because it requires running a calculation instead of collecting a data point. What happens to your financial life if you beat the average by 10% in 3 categories simultaneously? Savings rate from 4.6 to 5.1%, barely noticeable. Credit card balance reduced by 10%, paid off 11 months faster. Investment expense ratio down from 1% to 0.9. Individually, none of these changes are dramatic. Combined over 30 years, approximately $240,000 in additional net worth, from being 10% better than average in 3 boring categories. This is the compound effect working in your favor instead of against you. The same math that makes credit card debt catastrophic makes small, consistent improvements transformative over time. Now watch what happens when you do not beat average by 10%, but by the amount that is actually achievable with real changes. Savings rate from 4.6 to 15%. Credit card balance from $9,000 to 0. Investment expense ratio from 1% to 0.03%. The difference in net worth at retirement at median income, approximately $800,000 to $1,200,000. Compared to the average outcome of 427,000. You did not earn more. You did not get lucky. You just ran different numbers through the same amount of time. Here is what today's numbers add up to. The average American earns 58,000 gross, takes home 43,000, spends 34% on housing, carries 9,000 in credit card debt at 22% interest, saves 4.6% of income, pays $2,000 a year in fees they do not notice, has 185,000 saved for retirement at 55, and retires with a monthly income that does not quite cover the monthly cost of living modestly. None of this happened because of personal failure. Most of it happened because of structural systems, tax design, housing markets, credit product architecture, healthcare pricing, fee structures buried in disclosures, built by people who understood the math and positioned themselves on the profitable side of it. But understanding the system is how you stop being an unconscious participant in it. The average is not a destiny, it is a default. You default into it by not running the numbers and not asking who benefits from the products you are using. The people who retire comfortably on median incomes looked at the averages, the credit card debt, the hidden fees, the 1% expense ratios, and did something slightly different in a few key places. Then let time do the rest. The hard part is not understanding it. The hard part is doing it while everything around you is designed to make the average feel inevitable. I'm Mr. Blobski. I read the fee disclosure on page 47. Nobody asked me to. My tie remains unimpressed, but my portfolio is not. Subscribe if you want to keep reading the fine print together. Class dismissed.